Okay, so the second bhava or the second house represents these things: wealth, grains, family, death, collections, friends, and metals, minerals, gems, etc. All look from the place of wealth. Okay, dhana, sthana. So that means place of wealth in Sanskrit. So one of the biggest things about the second house, it means liquid assets, assets that can liquefy quickly, that you can go get the cash right away, right? It's like something you have to offer to get something else right away. It's not in the bank. It's not gonna, you're not gonna be able to get it out in 10 years only or something. It's not one of those. It's like liquid that you can liquefy uh right away. So it literally means these things. Wealth of that sense, and food. How much food do you have to feed yourself and people who you are responsible for? Family, friends. How much money do you have to give to family, friends, or to support family, friends, uh, in order to take care of them, right? Um, how many responsibilities do you have? Collections. You have anything to collect from other people? People owe you things. Friends, metals that you have to trade, etc. Gems, right? How much wealth you have. So it all sort of ties in. The reason it says death, because this is a difficult house. This is a house that one has to manage on their own, right? No one's gonna help them with it. Actually, no, that's not true. This is a house which, if it has a difficult planet in it, or if the Lord is afflicted, that means taking care of the responsibilities to oneself becomes difficult. So feeding oneself, right? Let alone feeding other people, let alone taking care of other people, just taking care of oneself. Because only after you take care of yourself can you really take care of other people and be responsible for other people and other things. So if the second house is weak, then taking care of oneself becomes difficult. And when taking care of oneself becomes difficult, like eating food on time, taking care of yourself properly, um, emotionally, physically, mentally, financially, all those things, then that can lead to, I mean, it's an extreme case, death. Okay. So it doesn't literally mean death, but it's sort of the idea, right? It can lead to weakness over time, which could literally mean this. But this is just like an extreme example. It's from the Brihat Parashara. But we're going to sort of look at it from a different kind of angle, right? To get a better sense of it. So the second house represents the artha that the individual has earned and comes to them as personal resources. Artha means money stuff, like uh, I think it means the physical money, possessions, kind of things, wealth. Represents the artha that the individual has earned and comes to them as personal resources. So let's just Google and find out what exactly that is. So we're not lost here. Your skills. Okay. So according to this Wikipedia definition, which is kind of accurate, I guess, is one of the four goals of or objectives of human life in Hindu traditions includes career, skills, health, and wealth, prosperity. Career, skills, health, wealth, prosperity. So it basically skills to be prosperous. Okay. Health to be prosperous, right? Doing the right kind of things, career, or doing the right things to become prosperous. So skill set in that. If it's good, then you've been taken care of since childhood well. And now you have the wealth because you were taken care of to further take care of yourself and people around you as well. So yeah, it means represents the artha that the individual has earned and comes to them as personal resources with which they may have the opportunity to do something of value with. One's first resource is their family. Therefore, the second house represents family and the name that comes with it. So the reputation of the family, how much the family supports you, doesn't support you, has done for you, how impactful of a resource was your family for you, to you. Okay. The first resources with which one consciously uses, uh, first resource which one consciously uses are sight and speech. Therefore, the second house rules one's speech and eyes. Okay. It's a resource. Speech and eyes. Um, and this is really interesting because it kind of ties into, do you have the speech to get your needs met from your environment? Okay, your speech is a resource. Are you able to talk in a way to manipulate the environment to get what you need from it? Because the second house is the house of being able to get what you need from your environment. Okay, you need money, so you see there's money around you and you do something to get that money, right? You can sell something, you have a skill, you can do a trade partnership, you can go ask for it, you can talk in a nice way and you'll just get it, even from your parents or people around you. If you talk to them in a nice way, you can convince them to make a deal with you. So it rules the speech. If there's affliction there, then the speech is not so great in order to achieve that goal of getting your needs met from your environment, which is the second house. Eyes. Do you have the eye to get your needs met? Are you able to see what you can do to get your needs met from the environment? The first resource that one needs is food. Therefore, the second house rules food and the taste accompanying it. Are you able to get your emotional needs met and the satiation of the body, the nutritional needs of the body? Are you able to get those met? You are, if you have a good second house. You are able to get them met, right? You can have food, but if the food tastes bad, you're not satisfied. You didn't get a need met, which is very important. For you to feel good about yourself, right? For you to be able to take care of other people and be a resourceful person. Resourcefulness is the second house. You need to be able to feed yourself, right? Enough food, raw materials will have to be there, or even prepared food, whatever. The food has to be there in your body for you to be able to give others food, your family, friends, make them food, feed them food. The taste has to be good for you to feel good enough in order to do that. Because let's say if you keep eating bad tasting food every day, are you going to feel like helping other people feel good about themselves through the food that they eat? No, because you've been eating bad tasting food. So it accompanies food and the taste. So good second house will give you will bring into your life food that tastes good, and food and abundance of it, which tastes good. Other resources are wealth and possessions that come at different times. Therefore, the second house rules wealth and movable possessions. So it rules movable possessions, as in the money that goes in and out, money that goes in and out. If it's strong, the second house, then you're getting, there's always money going out, right? But there's more money coming in, probably. Um, and if there's, more money coming in, then you get richer and you can take care of more people, you have more resourcefulness. If there's more money coming in with a bad second house, it would be hard for money to come in. You could lose more money than get it. But there's some other indications on the chart, like the 12th house and the 11th house, that are looked for money, that are looked at for money. For the second house, you mainly want to just look at it, be like, is the person able to get their needs met, right? Whatever their needs are, is the person able to pay for them or get them met on a daily basis, right? Whatever transactions he or she has to do to that, either pay money or barter system or whatever it may be, right? Whatever transactions, are they able to get their needs met? Usually it has to do with money, because a lot of it has to do with money, right? You need to uh, get food, you pay for food, you make the food, right? Etc. Etc. Or you can just ask nicely because you have lots of friends and they'll give you food, and then when you have food, you'll give them, right? A good second house will do that kind of stuff. because they'll be just able to manage with that. So another important resource is that of friends. The second house therefore also rules friends. Like I just said, do you have friends to help you out? And do you have the resourcefulness to help them out? It's like when they need it, do you have the resourcefulness to help them out? If you do, you have a good second house. If you don't, then you don't have a good second house. And conversely, they'll help you out when you need it, right? So now it's like a Venus transaction. It's like when they need it, you're there. When you need it, they're there. With a bad second house, uh, you don't have friends like that. I mean, from the chart, speaking from the astrology chart, maybe you transcended the astrology chart, which is great, but just speaking from the perspective of the chart. So family, name, friends, and ability to talk, the taste of good foods, possessions, and seeing possessions all provide for a sense of worth and value, right? That's a very important point. Family, name, friends, the ability to talk, taste of good foods, possessions, and seeing possessions all provide for a sense of worth and value. Good second house people will have possessions, will want to have possessions around them, see possessions to feel a sense of worth and value. So they will obviously like money and making money, and they also want to be around money, and want to have possessions that make them feel worth and value. They want to have a good family name, friends, and ability to talk nicely to get what they need from the environment, right? So they want to live in this sort of feel good space where they're able to get their needs met whenever they need to, right? A good second house will be able to get their needs met whenever they have to. Uh, and a quick word for the second house is resourcefulness. It's the house of resourcefulness, getting your needs met by hook or crook. If it's a good, like if it's a good one with a Jupiter aspect, it can become like a noble way of getting your needs met. If it doesn't have a good Jupiter aspect, then it can become like a crooked way of getting your needs met. But even with a Jupiter aspect, still sort of a crooked way to get your needs met, because the second house is not about morality or anything. It's just about going and taking things that you think you need and you think you deserve. And in a way that's moral, it's fine, it's justified, because that's just the way how the world works. People just go take what they think they want and need because they think they deserve it. So the key is uh these people with a strong second house, they think they're deserving, so they'll just go take it, which is fine. If they're truly deserving, then they do deserve it, and then if they take it, it's fine, right? So that's the psychology behind the second house. Now moving on to the third house, we will look at the Parashara section first. Courage and servants maintained, siblings, etc. Upadesha, initiatory instructions. Journey, deprivation of parents, death, and discernment are looked at from the difficult place. So just like the second, which can bring death, this is a difficult house also. The second house is house that needs to be taken care of all the time. It doesn't happen by itself. It actively needs to be taken care of. So the second lord, let's say the second lord is the um sun in the 10th house and it's exalted. Okay, it's very strong and it doesn't have any bad aspects, right? Or it's a Jupiter in Cancer in the second. Like, I don't know if that's possible because I haven't looked at I haven't done the calculations. I don't think the Jupiter thing is possible. But let's just say the Lord is very strong of the second house. It's still a house that they need to constantly work on. Yeah, they're going to be able to work on it very well compared to the second Lord being weak in a different chart. But still, just because that Lord will rule the second house, that Sun or Jupiter will rule the second house, um, makes it a difficult Lord to impact your life really easily because it rules the second house. Because the second house, just by the meaning of it, just in essence, is a house that you need to put constant work in, right? If you don't eat once a day, you're gonna get weak, right? That's the second house. You have to eat well every day. You have to maintain your health in order to be healthy. If you don't do that for 2 3 days, your health could really break and you could die. Okay, second house. Uh, that's an example. Like, do you are you injury prone? Are you just injuring yourself constantly? And turns out 3 4 days you have a broken neck and then broken leg and like you're in the hospital within a week from all these injuries because you're playing rugby and you keep playing again and again, going back. So that's a good second that's a good second house. But just by the nature of being careful all the time and taking care of yourself all the time, this is a house that needs constant effort. So that's why it's a difficult house. Similarly, the third house is also a difficult house. Okay. Uh, so the third house is about how much courage do you have? How strong-willed are you? How strong is your willpower? How fearless are you? Okay. And I guess servants maintain be like, how well can you guide people to do what you want? Your ability to your cognitive as well as your speech ability combined in order to lead servants well, people who work for you, work under you, to do what you need them to do. Okay. Siblings, people who you can do things with. As children, people only have siblings that they can do things with, shared activities. Uh, the siblings are their associates, childhood associates that they play with together and do things together and get into fights, etc. Uh, compete essentially, right? They compete with them. So initiatory upadesha, initiatory instructions, initiatory instructions to begin anything. Let's say you want to learn how to code, right? You have to learn the basics. Once you learn the basics, then you can work with the basics in many different ways, and then you can take it into a specific direction. So the third house is the basics. A good third house person will know a lot of basics of different fields of knowledge and instruction. So now it's like wherever they are in life, they can sort of figure things out based on the initiatory instructions they have and based on whatever their calling is, right? They because they have a wider, they've learned a wider set of things in life in the form of initiatory instructions. They have an easier time picking what they need to do in life. What is their calling? They have a set of knowledge to always leverage to help them, right? And the journey, the only way you can learn these things, courage, servants maintained, uh, how to compete well, initiatory instructions in a lot of different fields, is through journey, right? Traveling, you're taking classes in different places in your city, different classes, you're going playing soccer with your sibling or whatever. You're getting into some fights and arguments to develop courage, right? How to talk to people. So this is the journey. Usually signifies short-term journeys, right? A lot of like traveling and bouncing around to different places, doing different things. Deprivation of parents, death, and discernment are looked at from the difficult place. So if the third house is bad, one is not able to discern properly. Discern is to be able to distinguish from what's going to work and what's not going to work, right, wrong, good, bad. And the things that are not going to work, you can say they're the wrong or the bad things. Okay. And that's why, because if discernment is terrible, if you don't know uh that you're going to die once you jump off this building and this parachute is not going to work, if you're not able to think through that and figure that out, then you might die. Okay. So if discernment is bad, there can be harm. And deprivation of parents, um I don't know where this comes from, but I think we'll find out. But I think deprivation of parents in this case is just yeah, that's an interesting one. Um, yeah, so I mean, in order to be good at learning initiatory instructions, okay, in order for you to be doing the journey and for you to be able to do the discernment and for you to be able to be strong and talk well and argue and debate and all that stuff. Usually there's the parents are not that they're not a part of the picture because you have to learn everything yourself. Parents are not there to help you. That's why you're able to learn everything yourself. So any planet in the third house will make that planet a difficult thing. And the third, whatever uh, sign the third house is, right, that Lord will function with a bit of difficulty because it needs constant effort to maintain. So parents, not that big part of the picture when the third house is involved because you have to learn to do all these things yourself, right? Because parents, if they teach you, then it's just a gift. But the third house is not about gift. The third house is about putting your own effort to get something on your own. Um, yeah, the gift is if you're given the platform to do it, but you still have to learn everything by yourself. That's the third house. Now, to dive deeper into the third house, which is right here, represents personal desires and goals. One wants to fulfill and is therefore the house of Kama. So Kama means desires, okay, in Sanskrit. Uh, yeah, so personal, whatever you desire, that becomes your goal that you want to fulfill. It represents is represented by the third house. The strength and initiative with which we pursue our desires and goals indicate our courage. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. The strength and initiative with which we pursue our desires and goals indicate our courage. Therefore, the third house represents courage. Okay, personal desires, courage. Closely related to this is the intellectual confidence, another important indication of the third house, like I was mentioning. Intellectual confidence. The third house, as representing the energy with which to fulfill personal desires, grants longevity in order to fulfill them. Right? So, third house represents the energy with which to fulfill personal desires, grants the longevity in order to fulfill them, represents the energy and the longevity to fulfill personal desires. So the third house therefore becomes the house of longevity. So a good exalted planet in the third house will give you energy to fulfill personal desires, right? And will grant you longevity. For you to successfully fulfill them, you need longevity. Sometimes it might take many years. So then it gives longevity. Okay. So that's why but it's longevity that needs to be sort of taken care of a little bit because the third house is the house of effort. Everything takes effort, right? So that energy has to, you have to work for that energy. It'll come, but you somehow have to put effort for it. There's an expenditure of energy in order for you to get it also. So that's also true. Third house is representing those which may assist us in fulfilling our desires, indicates brothers, sisters, and associates, right? Those which may assist us in fulfilling our desires, right? Who can assist us in fulfilling our desires? Brothers, sisters, and associates, people who we do things with, activities with, shared activities, sports, etc. Could be anything, right? Teammates. The third house, as indicating the exchange between others, and as mentioned, represents communication, correspondence, and commerce, right? Indicates exchange between others. So communication, correspondence, and commerce, right? Pretty easy to understand. So though the second house represents speech, speech alone is not communication. Therefore, the third house rules hearing, which is necessary for communication. So this third is closely related to the second because it's the second to the second. It's also closely related to the eighth. It's the eighth to the eighth. So the second and the eighth house are both difficult houses to deal with. And a good third house, because it's the second from the second and the eighth from the eighth, is going to help you deal with the second and eighth house much better. So yeah, the third house represents hearing, right? It's different part of communication, not the speech, but the hearing. So you can have bad speech, but you can have good hearing. Okay. Um, good understanding and literally good hearing. Like you're sensitive to voices, able to hear whispers and stuff, perhaps that kind of thing. At times, in the pursuit of our desires and goals, it becomes necessary to travel. Therefore, the third house rules short journeys. Okay. Like I said before, at times, in the pursuit of our desires and goals, it becomes necessary to travel. Therefore, the third house rules short journeys. Okay, so now moving on, we have the fourth house. It's getting pretty interesting now. Vehicles and other such relatives, mother, happiness, etc., as well as other such yearning and deposits, land in the house are considered from the fourth. Fourth is basically fulfillment that go beyond material and survival desires. Fulfillment that is above and beyond basic needs of survival. Okay, that's like a pretty quick way to put it, but we're going to elaborate. And here we are. Okay. Represents the inner foundation and strength within us, as well as indicating the inner mind, the realm where we have total freedom. Fourth house is therefore a house of moksha or liberation. Fourth house is the inner reservoir within which our consciousness dwells. Okay, so it's the inner foundation and strength within us. Okay, it's the house of feeling good. And yeah, this is mentioned here, feeling good, but I'm sort of going to brush on it a little bit now. Is that basically whatever happens in life, do you feel good no matter what, right? The eighth house and the fourth house are important for that. The eighth house is, do you feel good no matter what? The fourth house is like, do you feel good about everything that you do, right? You're only going to do uh things that feel good if you're doing it from the heart. It's coming from a happy place in your heart. Then you feel good about it. So if the fourth house is strong, is good, then you have a happy place in your heart, which will make you feel good about things because you'll be thinking and feeling certain specific things. So when you act on them, you'll feel good about the actions also, right? So it'll be like a feel good vibe. And the only way you can get that is because if you have a good childhood where you were taken care of, where inner foundation was taken care of, and you weren't emotionally vulnerable, you're sort of lived in relative easiness. There wasn't deprivation of any sort, etc. Then you will have good inner foundation and strength because you'll be feeling good, right? You've grown up into adult and your patterns have set in, and the patterns that set in were one of good inner foundation and strength. So now you have this ability to feel good, uh, and feel good about the actions that you do, because the actions you are doing are going to be based on those good feelings. Okay, so it indicates the inner mind, the realm where we have total freedom. Okay, so only if we have that strong base, that strong inner foundation, that strength within, can we let our inner mind roam and think about our highest emotional need, right? Which I believe which is ultimately moksha, right? It's the highest inner need. And that's where you have time to think about it for the first time. The fourth house is therefore house of moksha or liberation. Is the inner reservoir within which our consciousness dwells. So cool fact about the fourth house is the house below. 10th house is the house above, and fourth house is the house below. And it's really where everything is sort of flowering from, all our actions, everything that we do. That's where they uh, are born. Those things, those feelings, desires. That's where they're born, and we act based on them. So this is where our consciousness dwells. Fourth house indicates the mental freedom to choose our attitude, which gives us the choice of happiness. Therefore, the fourth house is indicative of happiness. Like I said, it gives us mental freedom, that inner foundation and strength, to choose our attitude, which gives us a choice to be happy whenever we want. Okay, and we're happy people with a good, if we have a good fourth house. It is an accepting, nurturing environment that initially allows for the proper development of our inner emotional nature. As the mother is primarily responsible for the acceptance and nurturing, the fourth house rules the mother. Okay. Because usually it's because of the mother that proper development and inner emotional that acceptance and nurturing happens. Our home, land, and house are also places where we become free from the world, right? We go to work, we come back, we have a hard day, we go out, we do something, come back to our safe haven where we become free from the world. Therefore, the fourth house rules our home, house, and land. Okay. So person with a good fourth house, good planet in the fourth, or a strong fourth lord, well placed, etc., will give people home, house, land that is secure to come to. Fourth house provides us with the ability to free our consciousness from our body. One way in which it does this is by providing us with the means of moving our body without our own effort through vehicles. Yeah. So free our consciousness from our body, uh, essentially free ourselves from our body. One way in which it does this is by providing us with the means of moving our body without our own effort through vehicles. Okay. So this is an interesting one, and provides us with the ability to free our consciousness from our body. I think that has a deeper meaning because it's a moksha or liberation house. It's when you are in a very comfortable, feel good space. Can you feel something beyond the body, right? Only when you're very happy and blissed out, where you don't care about things and everything is fine no matter what. You just feel happy just by your own nature. Then you can free yourself from your body a little bit, right? Your consciousness. So this is the first step towards wanting um, to be able to free from that, and probably gives good ability to a pretty high extent, and can really help uh, towards the path of moksha, a good fourth house. So now let's do the fifth house. I don't know how much time we have left, but I think we can go for one more. That's the fifth house. Okay. Yantra, mantra, knowledge, and also intelligence. Okay. Continuance, as in consistency, steadfastness. Children and fall from royalty are seen from the child house. Okay. So that's the house of intelligence, famously known as. Here we go. Fifth house indicates our creative intelligence, as it is our duty to express this intelligence as part of our divinity. The fifth house is the house of dharma. So the divinity of which you were born and came to this earth, okay, uh, put a certain wants to express a certain intelligence through you. And what that intelligence that it wants to express through you is, that can be known by the fifth house. If there is a high emphasis, if the divinity put a high emphasis on it or a low emphasis, or what is the nature of that emphasis. Okay, so therefore that becomes a house of dharma. Okay, house of uh your personal law. What is the law that governs you? What did you come here to do? What How is divinity trying to channel itself through you in this world? That is your creative intelligence. Creative intelligence is the expression of our soul into the world. Okay, of our soul into the world, like I said. Recognizing the creative intelligence behind our incarnation allows us to see the real from the unreal. This is interesting. Recognizing the creative intelligence behind our incarnation allows us to see the real from the real. So fifth house therefore indicates discrimination. So the third house is discernment and the fifth house is discrimination. Let's see if there's a big difference because there are two different terms used here, right? Uh, discrimination. Okay. Let's see. That doesn't help at all. Yeah, okay, so we'll come back to this. But essentially what I think this is trying to say is that essentially knowing that who we are, okay, our creative intelligence behind our incarnation allows us to see the real from the unreal. Okay. So the real thing is what we want to express. That's like our reality. Okay. What is unreal is what we don't have to express. Right. And we see the creative intelligence in other people also. So the fifth house, it it includes discrimination between the two, between what we came to express and what we did not come to express. Okay. Um, so we know the difference. Once we know the difference, can we really do what we came to express? A bad fifth house or bad fifth lord will not be able to discriminate well what they came to express. So let's say a debilitated fifth lord or a debilitated fifth planet, right, will not be able to discriminate that well, right? Let's move on. Learning to express our unique creative intelligence requires education that serves to stimulate our intuitive knowledge and creative self. Therefore, the fifth house rules education of the sort that we are inspired towards. Okay. So learning to express our, yeah, so we need education uh that stimulates our intuitive knowledge, right? So we have intuitive knowledge, but it's sort of stored in our subconscious deep, and we learn things to stimulate it, right? To sort of access it and make sense of it, put words to it, be able to put it in speech, put it in some creative form, etc. Right? Just it stimulates our intuitive knowledge and creative self, therefore. Fifth house rules education of the sort that we are inspired towards. So whatever creative intelligence, whatever intuitive knowledge is and a creative self, right? The education that stimulates that, which is the education we are inspired to engage in. Okay. Man is responsible for playing his part in maintaining God creation, and it becomes dutiful of him to create offspring, right? To maintain God's creation, man has a duty, which is to create offspring. Okay. Um, it's not a duty for everyone, but it is a dutiful thing, generally speaking. So the fifth house rules children. Okay. Expressing our creative intelligence fully requires the development of the intuition. Intuition is developed through the practice of spiritual techniques and the study of sacred writings. The fifth house therefore rules mantra and shastra, I guess. So this is interesting. Express our creative intelligence fully. That is unique to us, that we came to express that how divinity is channeling through us that intelligence requires develop of an intuition. We need to be able to sort of channel it through, right? We need to like allow it to happen, but we can't allow it to happen if our mind is distracted by things, because our mind needs a certain level of stillness and equanimity for that divine intelligence that we came to channel is able to channel freely. Okay. So that's why we need spiritual techniques. So rule spiritual techniques, the fifth house, and we need to know how to live a sort of controlled life. So sacred writings will give you that knowledge, and mantra, you can do it through mantra and shastras. Okay. Uh, what is yeah. So shastra instructions. What I thought. I thought maybe they're trying to say something else. Through education and learning of essentially spiritual kind of learning, can you uh, develop intuition, right? Because then once you know the truth, let's say you know false information or conclusions that are not true, compared to if you know the right, absolutely right things, okay, which you'll find in sacred writings or through spiritual techniques. Through spiritual techniques, you're able to develop the intuition to just know the right from wrong without reading a book, right? And mantras, you're able to channel some kind of truth into your life, etc. Now you have the discrimination of what you came to do versus what you did not come to do. Okay. So yeah, the fifth house rules all these things, right? The development of intuition. Expression of this intelligence manifests psychologically as confidence in expressing love and that natural to the self, right? So yeah, so the psychological manifestation of this intelligence, which you express in the fifth house, so you develop intuition, and now you're able to express. You develop intuition through these spiritual techniques, sacred writings, mantra, shastras, and now you have creative intelligence. Okay. No, sorry. Now you have intuition. Okay. Through intuition, you can channel, you can give out that creative intelligence that you have. And once you're giving it out, right, how that psychologically comes out or manifests, what it looks like is confidence in expressing love and that natural to the self, right? So it's a house of creativity. Most artists who are famous, like musical artists, who, I mean, even non-famous ones, but like we can especially see in the chart of famous people because that's like public access. There, there's a planet in the fifth house, right? So that's just an example. That's one example. Let's see how much time we have.